when you somebody runs the long jump, we had the Olympics this year, finally pulled off in Japan, but somebody runs, you have to, you're running down before you take the leap. And so, for me, when I recognized the 10-year anniversary celebration of Teamwork Africa, I'm like, well, what about the before part? You know, because Mark and Peggy Halverson were going to adopt a one and then two little boys from Africa, from Liberia, West Africa. One of them, we saw he's over here, Michael, we saw his picture December 13, 2008. He was 4 years old. Now he's almost 17. But the thing was, that was early in 2009, Liberia closed to adoption, and because of the corruption and some of through the adoption agencies there, and so we thought, okay, well, it'll be maybe a few months, not 11 years. But anyhow, and then they said he has a brother, Habakkuk, would we be open to adopting him. We prayed about it. We got approved for that. Had numerous smoke alarms, additional smoke alarms put in the house. But then we got word that he'd had malaria around March of that, and then the tragic news that we got really in early July of 2009 that Habakkuk had gone back to Peletiana to visit to go to his grandparents' funeral, and he died of cholera from the dirty drinking water. And again, out of that tragedy, I'm not proud of my reaction, which was, that happens to kids in Africa. I was sad, but I mean, I sort of had an acceptance. But my wife was, as I've learned to call it, adoption pregnant. And she had Habakkuk way down deeper in her heart, and she said, that can't be the end of the story. And so she hates fundraising even to this day, but we raised the money for the most expensive well, $7,000 that we ever put in, and that well went in the following rainy season, and was followed by a school when we both went on our first trip. And that, in 2011, is when Teamwork Africa was born in Liberia and here in America. But there was the before part. Well, our friends Pete and Deb Krasaniak are here, and they're both gifted musically. And Pete, when he first heard this story and of the before part and the launch of Teamwork Africa, he put together the song Cool, Clean Water, which starts our program tonight.
Little Michael and Habakkuk were brothers in a war-torn land, left without a mother or father, and way too young to understand. Then a family learned of their story, a family from America. They filed the paperwork for adopting these two boys from Liberia. But the adoption moved too slowly. Habakkuk became ill while battling with malaria. He would soon grow weaker still from contaminated water. Cholera claimed the boy, and there would be no happy ending, no family filled with joy. Was there a way to get cool, clean water from down in the ground, to stop the dying of the little children? children would die from contaminated waters, and our Father heard their cry from the lack of cooling water. Too many families have mourned the loss of sons and daughters, and teamwork Africa was born. There was a way to get cool, clean water from down in the ground, to stop the dying of the little children in every village and town. If the seed is planted in the ground, it grows till the harvest comes, and from the life of young Rebecca, many lives will be saved and won. So in village after village, hope has finally come from new wells of cool, clean water and living water from the sun. There is a way to get cool, clean water from down in the ground, to stop the dying of the little children in every village and town. There is a way to get cool, clean water from down in the ground, to stop the dying of the little children and bring new life to every village and town.
Powerful. So, hey, let's hear it for Pete and Deb and that song. Really appreciate it. Before I get to just kind of continuing on, it's in your program as the 10 years in quick review. I want to just ask our board members to stand, and we're going to hear from one of them briefly. So our chair, Jason Bierbrower, is here from Madison tonight. Thank you. And we've got Gordy here. Gordy Rietzgraff is here from the Plum City area. And the newest member of our board is Bruce Yankee, a recently retired pastor from Abbotsford Evangelical Free Church. And Bruce, not going to only have you stand, but I think we've got a retired pastor's not going to decline a mic, so.
Mark said till 8. I have. Are you going to interview me or?
No, she said you had a word.
Oh, I got a word. Okay. When you go to Africa in ministry, you have to have a word, a message, or 3 wherever you go, right? Yes. But the family, the whole Leckler family, has been close to us through the years. And so I've known Peggy forever, since she said hi. And myself, as I moved to Abbotsford, got involved in ministry from one of the people that were in that church, the Free Church down in Plum City. We ended up in Africa. But I ended up in Francophone, which is the French-speaking countries, and they surround Liberia. They don't, because they talk English there. See, we need interpreters. And so I always had a heart, and the ministry of that organization I'm with, 10, Trans-African Education Network, is to train pastors. Pastors who haven't had any training. And they've limited themselves to French-speaking Africa. And I always said, we need to get over those borders into those English-speaking countries. And so they always say, no, we got big enough on our plate, can't do it, but they slip over every once in a while. And so I've had a heart for the English-speaking countries around there too. And then Christian education is my other passion. So to get it started in ministry going there. So as I heard of Peggy's ministry, and we welcomed them over to Abbotsford to support them and share their ministries, and we listen to him every morning going to work. So, you know, we've kept up on things, and I just want to come alongside and be a part of things. They invited me to join the board, so. And she had my arm twisted that way. Persuasion is one of her gifts. But I'm here to serve any way I can, so I can help. And I got Gordy is really into agriculture. He's got a passion for ministry, and I have a history of that. I have to go combine my soybeans on Saturday. So we've got a lot of similar activities and ground with the gospel being central and making disciples. That's always been my heart. And I left Plum City actually to go to Abbotsford to make disciples of farmers. That was my goal at the time. God made a little turn in the path. How God does that many times. But so we don't know what the future brings, and I'm impressed as I see the board as they interviewed me, and I talked to them, talked to Peggy, is the desire to develop, to just get a more clear calling of where they want to go and how they want to develop the multiple ministries they have. And that's how you grow. That's how you do that, is to keep working at recapturing your passion, your vision, directing it. And so I had to kind of climb on board and enjoy the ride. So as God uses you to minister. So appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it. All right. So 10 years, you know, as we saw, water was a big part of the story early on. We found a ministry that said, hey, if you raise $1,500, we'll match that. And it's crazy to think that more than 500 new wells are well repairs. I mean, it's well over that. And so those first 5 years were filled with that. In more recent years, a lot more has been well repair. And you'll hear Peggy give more of the update on things. But Ebola in 2014, I mean, nobody saw that coming. And that was incredibly difficult. And so in terms of hand washing buckets, we kind of adjusted in terms of how to deal and help in Liberia. In 2016, actually moving our whole family there. I sold our house, sold our vehicles, and left our jobs, and so went and lived 2 full school years in Liberia. And then coming back in 2018 for more than 3 years now, keeping the ministry going. And I think, as I heard Peggy even sharing with some folks around the table, that in terms of the biggest, the time that we were there, those relationships that were built, little did she know that those friendships that were developed would be so key in Teamwork Africa going forward. The trust relationship she has with Francis and Rosalind and AB on that side is way deeper and better than it ever would have or could have been. And so I've been married to her for almost 23 years. She's the one who told me, she's like, yeah, the many differences we have. I'm like a flashlight, she's like a laser beam. And I got to tell you in introducing her that the very first time we were there together, March of 2011, that as we were in some of the villages, and she would say to the people, she said, I will take very intensely, as she does so many things, even she sleeps intensely, but the idea that I will take you back in my heart. And 10 years later, Liberia and its people are deep in her heart. Please welcome Teamwork Africa's Executive Director and my wife, Peggy Halverson.
A lovely relationship with this headset, so we'll see if I can get it to without it falling off. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I just want to appreciate you for making the effort to be here. It's been a challenging season for all of us, and we're just starting to get back into the ability to be able to be together. And as we actually, Teamwork Africa actually started in March, and so we generally have our celebration in the spring, but, as the way things were going, I just didn't feel like that was a very good timing for that, and now we're in October, so it's like now or never, right? So, I just really want to appreciate you for coming tonight. We have learned a lot in the last 10 years, and I try to find comfort in the quote that you don't know what you don't know. And when we started Teamwork Africa, I was really, really honest with the fact that I didn't know anything about international ministry. And if you were to have asked me, I would have said, choose someone else. But I had a heart that was willing and a heart that had been broken. And so I'm like, God, if you'll take my hand, I'll follow you one step at a time. And when we started Teamwork Africa, if you look at the logo that we have, it's a picture of a person who is trying to, help another person up. And we had a vision then of being a helping up, not a hand out. But without knowledge, you very easily slide into a handout method without other ideas. And so we have learned that when you really, really want to make a difference, you need to help people recognize that they often know the answers to their own problems. And I'm going to show you a video now called the Mountain Village Story that demonstrates how sometimes outsiders try to be helpful, but sometimes their help doesn't help the way they intended to. So this is the Mountain Village Story. It should be a video. It should be one of the ones on the bottom.
There once was a village located on top of a steep mountain. On a regular basis, as people were coming down the mountain, they would slip off the trail and fall to the valley below. A number of people were injured, and some even died. A short-term team came to their village, saw this problem, and wanted to do something about it. They thought about what they could do and then decided that the best thing would be to station an ambulance at the base of the mountain. Therefore, when a person fell, a driver could rush the ambulance to pick him up and bring him to the closest hospital 10 kilometers away. The people in the village were excited about this idea. The short-term team went home and raised the funds for the ambulance. The people at home were excited that they could get involved and help. Then, one day, the ambulance broke down. But the people ignored the problem until another person fell off the trail and needed the ambulance to be taken to the hospital, but there was no transportation available. They then became concerned and went looking for the short-term team that had put the ambulance there. They complained that the team's ambulance was broken down and wanted to know why they didn't keep the vehicle in good repair. The team raised more money and fixed it for them. However, the same problem happened several more times, again with the people coming to the team, wanting them to sort out and fix the problem. The short-term team finally decided that there were way too many repairs required on the vehicle and they couldn't keep raising more money to fix it. They told the people it was their problem. The team had tried but could no longer help. The people felt sad about this, but did nothing. They were now back to the place where they had begun. Representatives from the church diocese came, saw the problem, and said they wanted to help. The diocese decided that what was really needed was a clinic at the foot of the mountain. So if someone fell, they could get immediate medical care. The diocese then built a clinic, provided equipment, staff, and drugs. The people were very happy about those who fell, that they could now get immediate attention and not have to make a 10-kilometer ride to the other clinic. This solution worked well for a while, but eventually those working at the clinic wanted some time off, so the clinic was left unattended. The people went to the diocese and complained about the poor service that the clinic was providing, and said the diocese had to give them better care. The diocese put in extra staff to cover during the holidays. Several times, the clinic ran out of drugs, and the people complained about the poor care the diocese was providing for them. The diocese then ran low on money and had to stop some of their operations to conserve their funds. They decided to stop staffing this clinic and stop providing drugs for it. They shut it down. The people were very angry with the diocese. The people from the village didn't know what to do. The two ideas which outsiders had done for them, the ambulance and clinic, were no longer available or working. A respected man in the community said, "Let's meet to talk about the real problem." They looked back at their original need, which was to somehow take care of those who fell off the path as they were traveling up and down the mountain from the village. The two solutions helped somewhat, but there were problems with each one. As they talked, the respected man said, "I had an idea when we first talked about the problem, but no one would listen to me. The outsider was going to do everything for us for free. My idea would have taken some work and money on our part, so no one was interested in what I had to offer." He then told them his idea, which was to build a fence along the trail to keep people from falling over the edge. It would take work on the part of the people to cut the wood for the fence and to put it up. It would take a little money to put the fence posts in cement, so they would last longer. The people responded with, "That's a great idea, let's do it." So they raised the little money they needed and began to work. After several weeks, the work was done. Now, when someone slipped, the fence stopped them from falling over the edge to the valley below. After a few years, the wood began to rot, but instead of going to an outsider, they went and fixed the fence themselves. Now, instead of looking to the outside for help, they began to look to their own community for solving the problem. This one project gave them confidence that they could do things for themselves. Now, when someone from the outside came to them to give them something, they said, "Thank you, but if we think it is important, we will do it ourselves."
This video is from it's a tool called Che. And I don't like using the word Che because it takes too long to explain, but it's community health evangelism. And I found Che 3 years ago, and I was on Facebook, and I saw a friend of mine post about world poverty solutions. And at that point, we've been working in Liberia for a long time, and I'm like, I want to know the solution to world poverty, because I haven't found it yet. And by that time, they had changed the name, and my friend was working with World Challenge in Colorado Springs. And he said, we're doing a training on community health evangelism. Would you like to come? And so I went out to Colorado Springs for a week in 2019, and I learned about self-sustainability, about community empowerment, and about how to help people be asset-based. Like, what do we have instead of what don't we have? And so that mountain village story is one of the stories that we use in Liberia to help people change their thinking. Because if you live in a developing country, you are used to organizations coming and giving you stuff, whether you want it, need it, or not. There's a lot of organizations that will help with, and malaria is a huge problem in West Africa. And so there are some organizations that use mosquito nets because, you know, if you're under the mosquito net, you're less likely to get malaria. But my friends in Liberia don't like sleeping under mosquito nets because they are hot. So they use their mosquito net for fishing. Now, if there's other, so it's like, I don't have any problem about giving away mosquito nets. I mean, we use mosquito nets. We needed mosquito nets. But it's the disconnect between what does a person think they need or believe they need, and what's the solution to that problem. Now, we're going to do a skit right now called the river crossing. And it's one of my favorite tools in our program. And I train my team in Liberia, and I do this skit all the time to communicate the idea of what happens when someone tries to solve your problems for you. So if I could get my skit team. All right, skit team.
Once there was two people who came to a river and want to cross but do not know how to swim. The current is strong and they are afraid to cross. An outsider comes along and sees their difficulty. He offers to help them cross using the stepping stones, but they are afraid. He agrees to carry one on his back. But he only manages to reach the island in the middle. He leaves the first person there and returns to the shore where the other person is waiting. The outsider returns to the riverbank to the waiting village member, but is now too tired to carry them. He refuses to carry the second person, but agrees to help show them how to walk across the stones. Halfway across, the village member feels confident enough to manage on their own. The second village member and the outsider cross the river, but the first villager is still left on the island. He shouts for help. The outsider walks away and instructs the second village member to go back and show the village member on the island how to walk on the stones to reach the shore.
One of my very favorite stories because it parallels really well with the mountain village story. So there's two sides to our mentality. So in the village story, there was actually someone in that village who did have a great idea on how to solve their problems. And when they followed his idea, they actually found the solution. However, there are equally times where people are used to thinking in a certain pattern and they don't know how to think outside the box. And if I go into, so recent example, we went to a village that grows a lot of cassava, and they wanted a cassava mill, which has 3 parts. It's a big building, and they wanted to actually process the cassava with a grinder, with a press, and a dryer. And when I talked to my team about it, they're like, no, we're not going to just put a cassava factory here, because we need to do a lot of more investigation of what's going on. So we started asking them, so how much cassava do you produce? And what are you doing with it now? And asking lots of questions. And then we decided that probably the best place to start with them was to start with a very small cassava grinder. And cassava is a root crop, and they grate it kind of on a thing that looks a lot like a cheese grater by hand. And then they grate it by hand, and then they parch it to dry it. Then they press it to get all the moisture out of it, and then they dry it. And so this cassava grinder is just a little motor on a cylinder, and you just put the cassava in the top, and it comes out the side. So with the river crossing, so when this village leadership team came to us and said, we want you to give us a cassava mill, we said, let's help you figure out how you can actually get your own cassava grinder. And so through several months of conversation at this point, we're talking about, each lady who brings her a tub of cassava to grind, how much will she pay to get it ground? She will pay a cup of dried roasted cassava is called gari. So she'll bring 1 cup of the finished product in order to grind her tub of cassava. Wonderful. When we add up how many people, we're still in the process of figuring out how many ladies will come each day to grind their cassava, but we estimate that it'll probably take 4 to 6 months for this village to actually pay for the cassava grinder. So rather than us carrying them on our back and giving them a cassava mill that they don't have the expertise in how to run, they don't have the know-how on how to keep the machines running. And I went to a village on that same trip just in August, to a village that has a cassava mill. It's locked up and closed, and there are grass growing all around it. They don't use it at all. And a wonderful, thoughtful organization built it there for them, and whoever was in charge of it doesn't live there anymore, so no one can use it. So those are some of the unintended consequences that happen when you're not thinking through your efforts. So we use the Mountain Village story and the river crossing story to talk about how we can do things differently. So how can we do things differently? Well, I have another lesson that I want to show you. This is worldview development. This starts with the question, why do we do what we do? So obviously I have a tree here. Anyone who wants to help me out, shout out where the parts of the tree. Perfect. Yes. We have roots. We have a trunk. We have the thing that the leaves grow on. Branches. And on any healthy tree, what do we also want to see? Want to see fruit. Leaves. Jesus told us that we would know a tree by its fruit. Fantastic. We are all a type of tree, and in our lives we have something that is similar to our roots, our trunk, our branches, and our fruit. And it's really easy for everyone around us to see our fruit. And in my story, I'm going to call that fruit consequences. And consequences can be kind of a negative term. I just mean the result of our behavior. And those are the things that most of us see. Oh wait, sorry, the heater goes on the branches. Those are the things that most of us see, and those are the things that we judge people, whether they're doing well or not doing well. But what drives behavior? Why do people choose to behave the way they behave? Well, they choose to behave the way they behave because of what they value. What they think is going to get them, the thing that's going to make them happy, or the thing that's going to get them where they want to go in their life and their goals. So, what is the part that we can't ever see? What is the roots of our life where do our values come from? How do we decide what we value? It's what we believe. So all of us, based on what we believe, then we develop our values, and from what we value determines our behavior, and that behavior affects the consequences of our lives. Oftentimes, in my experience, we try to address the consequences in the behavior. You know, if someone's thirsty, we give them clean water. If they're hungry, we give them food. We are addressing a consequence. But oftentimes we never stop to ask, why are you hungry? Why don't you have enough food? Or why are you thirsty? Why don't you have any clean water? Like, what is going on? Is there something in your values or your belief system that is perpetuating the poverty that you're experiencing? And that is what we're trying to address now. It's not that we are done meeting needs, but we're actually trying to look deeper at where are these needs coming from? This one's not as big, so hopefully you can still see it. I have 3 more trees here. I have one tree that is dry and spindly and barely surviving. I have one tree that's struggling to hold on, but it's got a little bit of leaves. And I have another tree that's flourishing, and it's healthy. And the difference between these 3 trees is the soil that they're growing in. And if you look in the bottom, I know some of you guys over here can't see super well, but in the bottom, I have a box, and it says lie, 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 and truth. That tree is growing in a soil of lies, and it's barely surviving. The tree in the middle that, is kind of holding on there, it has truth, lie, truth, lie, lie. So it's got some truth in the bottom that's, helping it a little bit, but it's not really flourishing. But our tree over here that's growing and flourishing, producing fruit, it has truth. There's still some lies in there, but mostly truth and truth. Because when our beliefs are based on truth, then our values are based on that belief in what is true and right and good. And then, again, we just go back up here to this tree, then our behavior is based on those values and beliefs that are in truth, and then the consequence of that are going to be positive choices for our community. In Liberia, one of the biggest problems that we face is corruption and deceit. And it's incredibly difficult for people to trust one another. Even on the team that we have, and they'll probably be watching this tomorrow, we have been working extremely hard on developing trust within our team. Can I tell you something that you'll hold privately? Can I give you money that you won't misspend? So we are looking at trying to develop that. I have to go and get my book. There goes my thing. All right, we're gonna switch from this right now and tell you a little bit about what Teamwork Africa is actually doing. Our theme was the story, so this was my storybook. It was going to be my notes. So I want to introduce to you the staff that we have in Liberia, West Africa. And so if you can pull up the PowerPoint for our staff. This is Francis Smo, and Francis has been with Teamwork Africa since the beginning. And when Pastor Peter passed away and we needed to find someone else who could lead Teamwork Africa, Francis wanted someone else to do it. Several times, Francis wanted someone else to do it. He would be what you would call a reluctant leader. But as I prayed and looked at where our team was at, I told him, I said, Francis, you are the one who needs to lead us into the next chapter of Teamwork Africa. So this is Francis.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Can you pause it for just a second?
My name is S. Francis Smo, Teamwork Africa Liberia Country Director.
Okay, I forgot to tell you, I understand Francis perfectly well. You may not. So in your program, there is the transcript of what each of the Liberian staff are saying. So if you aren't getting Francis, you can look in there and kind of follow along and you'll see what he has to say. Sorry about that, Dan, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is S. Francis Smo, Teamwork Africa Liberia Country Director. I take this time to appreciate God first, secondly, to our partner in America, 630 Hamilton, who have made all efforts in reaching people, explaining our stories in order for people to help us. We are managing other activities on Teamwork Africa as a program, and these programs impact people's life. We are caring for deformed children. Under Star Banquet, we have students, we have medical affairs of their activities. Funding coming to Liberia have all been spread in this area in order to impact life, and people have appreciated, people have benefited and appreciated your effort, taking your bigger resources, sending them here to impact their life. So in the first place, we continue to say endless thanks to you people. Okay? Even during this corona crisis epidemic around the world, you will still stand to helping us. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we continue to say, for those who hear this story today, can come in to help us so that we can all work together in order to impact life, so God can be our blessing. Thank you.
The next one. This is Samuel B. Waki. Middle initials are really important in Liberia, so I made sure to give Samuel his middle initial. I met Samuel when we lived in Liberia, and I was helping out in Great King Academy, and we built a library, which is probably one of the things I'm most proud of that we've been able to do. And so I needed someone to train in how to run a library, and I got to know Samuel, and Samuel loves books. And so I got to know Samuel as a very trustworthy young man who's very sincere and really has proven himself. And he is now our administrative assistant. So he helps Francis he does all the notes for the board, for their staff meetings, and he does all the recording, and we're in constant communication. So this is Samuel.
My name is Samuel B. Wake. I am the administrative assistant of Teamwork Africa Liberia. I want to be so much grateful for our partner in the US, Sis Peggy Haberson, who has always been with us in tough times in making sure that many Liberians are helped through our different programs. Among our programs are the Safe Drinking Water, the Starfish Kids Program, which is the scholarship, the Women Empowerment, and the Cheer. And we want to be grateful for those who has been helping to sponsor these projects. Had it not been your help, I want to say that many of our students who have been kept in school up to present, they wouldn't have made it possible. So we bless God for you, that you will continue to help, and we hope that Teamwork Africa, with your help, will be graduating from the stage of just empowering others, and we'll have our own institution that those students and other personalities can get better help. Thank you so much.
Really wants us to build another school. Next is Rosalind Colley, and Rosalind is one of my very best friends in Liberia. When we lived there, Rosalind started as being our cook, and really she'll call me her mother, but when we lived there, she was like a mother to us. She took care of us and made our food for us and guided us through the process of living in Liberia. And Rosalind has a true mother's heart. And in the last couple of years, she's taken over the position of Starfish Kids coordinator. And she loves our kids. And if there's a kid that needs a pair of shoes or a pair of underwear, she lets me know, and we find a way to meet the needs of the kids that we have. And so this is Rosalind.
My name is Rosalind Kwadi. I'm the Starfish Kids monitor and also a member of Teamwork Africa. I work as Teamwork Africa to monitor our kids, how they're doing in their life and all of the activities. I want to tell God, thank you for Teamwork Africa. They are doing a great job in Liberia to save many lives and to send children to school that are able to go to school. I pray that God will add more blessing to Team of Africa, especially Sis Peggy, that God will give her wisdom and understanding, even our members that joining, that God will help them, that they will join with willing hearts and open mind, that together we will help support our kids that are waiting to go to school, that will be successful, to become some youth tomorrow in the future. And we pray that you will continue sending your support, because we have more things in Liberia to do that God can bless us all. Thank you and thank you.
Next is AB. Actually, go ahead and just play AB's video because it's super short.
I'm Abraham Ponet. I thank everybody, I thank Team Africa, thank you for what you are doing for us.
To say AB is not a man of many words would be an understatement, but AB is actually not from Liberia. He grew up outside of Liberia. He's from the Mandingo tribe, and most of our staff and friends are from the Pele tribe. And it is not often, it's not very common to invite somebody from another tribe into your group. But when we sent the big 1117 Mercedes flatbed truck to Liberia, we needed someone who could drive it, and AB could drive it. And so that's how AB came to Teamwork Africa, and when we lived there, he drove for us. And so we got to know him, and honestly, when we first met him, he could not understand a single thing Mark said. So he'd like look at me, he's like, what did he say? Anyway, we got used to each other, and his English improved and everything, but AB is so crucial to our team. He would feel like he's just the driver or just the mechanic. But when I was in Liberia in August, we had the Land Cruiser full of people, and we're talking and stuff, and we had a little trouble with a slow leak to one of our tires, but AB was managing it. So we were driving on a long trip up in country, and we were going uphill, and we were passing a slower moving large truck. And as we were passing it, we hadn't quite passed it yet, the passenger front tire blew. And I immediately looked at AB's hands. I looked at the steering wheel, because I knew when that tire blew, the hardest time he was going to have is whether he would maintain control of the steering wheel. And he managed to finish passing the truck and pull off and stop. So while the rest of us, our hearts are just thumping, and we are like, oh my gosh, we almost died. AB jumps out of the truck, jumps to the back, grabs the jack, goes over to the tire, jacks it up, grabs the iron, takes the tire off, rolls it across the road, flags down a pickup truck, and gets in a truck and drives back a few miles back to the town we just left. Probably about a half an hour later, he comes back with the tire fixed, puts it on the car, our Jeep, and we get back in and we're going. I mean, the whole thing probably took less than an hour. And when we got back into the Jeep, AB said, "Sis Peggy, I know your people are praying for us." And I'm like, thank God our people are praying for us. But AB grew up in a Muslim tradition, and AB has experienced a lot of bad examples of people who use the name of Jesus but don't live out the character of Jesus. And it's taken a long time for AB to be interested in who Jesus is. So when he tells me, AB, I know your people are praying for us, I know that he's coming closer every step of the way, closer to understanding who Jesus is. AB has also, when I need advice, I also call him, if you can see it up there, advisor. I had a pastor come to me and ask me to help him start a small business. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to sell gasoline. I'm like, I see people selling gasoline along the road all the time. I'm like, oh, okay. But I don't know anything about selling gasoline. So I'm like, hey, AB, will you come and sit with us and give us some ideas on this business? And AB sits down and he's like, Pastor, what do you want to do? And he says, I want to sell gasoline. And he said, where are you going to store it? You can't store that in your house. It's too dangerous, and you have children. So you'll need to find a secure place to store it. And in that moment, I realized that without AB's input, I could have very easily funded this pastor money to buy gasoline that he could have stored in his house, that could have burned his house down and risked the lives of his children. So I really appreciate the input that AB has. Everybody, his little 10-second short video, I want to tell you a longer story about him. Okay, our next friend. Oh, I can tell you about our next friend. After AB is Morris. Morris is the newest member of Teamwork Africa. Mark and I met Morris probably 7 years ago. He's interested in radio, actually. He works for African Bible College to keep their transmitter up. Matter of fact, he is supposed to be in Monrovia right now with a guest that we have in Liberia, but the transmitter at ABC went down, so he had to go all the way up to a place called Yakapa. It's about 4 hours drive to go fix their transmitter. So here's your greeting from Morris.
My name is Morris Kenneth Williams. I'm the education coordinator for the Teamwork Africa Liberia. I want to be grateful to God and to all of you, brothers and sisters out there, who have heard our stories and have been able to participate with your contribution as we contribute to help ease our illiteracy rate in Liberia. I want to say we are so much grateful. There are many kids out here who are not in school, but with all your gifts that you sent to us, we have been able to put at least a good number of children in school, and we also look forward to God blessing you, that you will bless us, and Teamwork Africa will be a blessing to many more children in our country and in Africa as well. Thank you, may God bless you and keep blessing you and bless us who work on the field as well.
A quick story about Morris, and something that's been really important for me to learn is, even though I started out with the attitude that I didn't know how to do, ministry in Liberia, and it's really easy to start thinking that you kind of got it now. And when I was in Liberia, probably about a year, sometime within the last year, it wasn't on this recent trip, we went to go visit one of our schools. And so we go to the school, and I brought a soccer ball, and I brought posters, and all the kids are singing their school song, and we're taking the pictures of the kids, and I'm thinking this is a great day. We get in the Jeep to leave, and Morris says, that school just opened today. I'm like, what? He's like, those chalkboards haven't been written on. No children have been playing in this yard. There's no garbage anywhere. So there hasn't been kids here. These people just opened the school today because you were coming. I was like, what? I'm like, you were like the Sherlock Holmes of Liberia. Like, I missed out on all that stuff. And so after that time, I asked him to be the educational coordinator because I wanted him to go check out all of our schools and make sure that the schools that we're sending our kids to are meeting regularly during the times that they said that they're going to meet, that they do devotions when they say they're going to do devotions, that they're having their chapel when they say they're going to have their chapel. And so all of our schools that we send our Starfish kids to are vetted. Morris and Samuel goes there and looks at the place, and now after school, when school opens, their school will open at the end of October, beginning of November. But when the schools open, Morris will be going there for surprise visits. And the wonderful thing right now is that not everybody knows that Morris works with Teamwork Africa. So when he goes there, they don't know he's with us. And the other really fun thing is, when I took him with us when we were going to do our things, they didn't know he spoke Pele either. So he just spoke English, and so he was listening to all the conversations in the dialect, so that he could grab an understanding of what was really happening. So I really appreciate that, and it taught me a really important lesson about teamwork. So last of our greetings is J. Tanu Kali, and Tanu, I'm saying that specifically just for you. Yeah, I'll let you play this video.
Hello everybody, I'm J. Tanu Kali. I am the Agricultural and Shade Coordinator of Teamwork Africa. Shade is Community Health Evangelism. This program is designed to reach out to teach our people, or to teach young Liberians as a whole, to get rid of the mindset of dependency and to build that mindset of independence by using their own local available resources to transform their community. And this program seeks to extend throughout the country, and we are planning to work with young children, youth, and adults to give them that mind of dependency to build Liberia. And this can only happen through fundings, and we are appealing to you to extend your financial hands to make Liberia an independent nation. Thank you.
Tanu did his video out on his own farm. He is an agricultural student, and he is in the process of building a poultry. So with his passion, he also used to teach agriculture at Great King Academy. And so he's a young man who is very passionate and dedicated to agriculture. And he's also done a phenomenal job at teaching our village transformation programs. So we just started a pilot program in 2020. We started with one church, and we started visiting them about once a month to start training them in village transformation. And so I went there at my most recent trip in August. People had asked me what my trip is about, and I said it's about training. So we went and did a 2-day training to finish up, concluded, graduated the group of people that have been going to this training over the last several months. But when we got there, I said, I am not doing any of the training. I brought the lessons for you, so here's your lessons, look them over. And I also don't want you to teach them in English. Because from what I can tell, most of these women especially aren't really proficient in English, and I'm not sure they're grasping everything. So why don't you try to teach these lessons in Pele? And so I don't translate things, so I don't even know what I was asking them to do. But they took a lesson written in English and translated it in Pele by just reading it in English and then speaking it in Pele. And the difference in the group was phenomenal. I watched these women lean forward in their seat. I watched them laugh at the jokes. I watched them answer the questions. And I had no idea what anybody was saying, but I could tell that they were engaged because it was in their native language. And this was the group of people who could train them. I can train the trainers, but the trainers need to train the people because they understand them in a way that no matter how much I love them, I never will. So I have one more slide of 2 more people I want to introduce you to from Liberia. 2 other board members who have been with us for a long time. That's Reverend Lyon and Pastor David Cornell. Okay, that's okay. I had a slide for them just so they know. They're older men, so you see from a lot of our staff people that they are younger people. But we also, for a while, we had all older people, and we needed to kind of balance that out with some younger people. So I want to go over just a couple of the programs. You might remember in the past, if you've been to Teamwork Africa events in the past, we've had up to like 9 different programs. And we're doing this and this and this and this and this. And of course, every wise person told us, you might want to narrow your focus a little bit. And we're like, yeah, we probably should, but we don't really know how, and we want to solve all the problems, so we're just going to keep doing it this way. So we did need to narrow our focus. And so I have four of our main programs that we're doing right now. The first one is our Starfish Kids. We call it Starfish Scholars now because we are focused on school tuition. So they have that statement right there. Our scholarship program provides promising, dedicated, and impoverished students the opportunity of a quality Christian education. We just finished the process of Morris and Samuel and Rosalind interviewed 36 students that were requesting scholarships. And based on their dedication and their need, we decided how many of those students we could add to our program. I crunched our numbers, and we are trying to work smarter, so we actually got a discount from some of our schools because we have a lot of kids there, so we're able to add some numbers, and then based on what I was hoping, with God's blessing, we could add 20 new students. We had 36 that interviewed. And so our staff had to sit together and go through those biographies of those students and choose which 20 students would get scholarships and which 16 students would still be on the waiting list. And when I got that list, they did extremely well. I found myself super sad for the 16 kids that didn't get scholarships this year. But I really want to be really grateful for the 20 kids that did. Because a lot of those kids really wouldn't be going to school this fall without our help. And that is added to, I think, we had 120 kids already in the program, and we added 20 on top of that. So this year we'll be sending 140 kids to school to get a quality Christian education. And I'm grateful for each one of them. At the back table where we have our African crafts and goods, there are a number of photos. I didn't count exactly, but there should be about 20. 20 pictures of the women who are in our Market Women program. Because we're about self-sustainability and we're not about handouts, we are about taking these women and training them in how to have a profitable business in the marketplace. Rosalind holds a Bible study every month where she teaches them microfinancing lessons based on biblical principles. And depending on the training and the trustworthiness of each lady, they receive between $50 and up to $300 for their loan. And she requires that they pay that loan back between 4 to 6 months. There's a tiny bit of interest attached to that, just so that we can keep keep the program going with printing costs and things like that. And most of the women do small, petty trade. They sell clothes, or they sell palm oil, or they sell things like that. These are also, most of these women also have kids that are in our Starfish Kids program. We still do clean water. So we want to be about self-sustainability. I haven't figured out how people can put their own well in their own village, so we're still helping doing that. I have a list right now of 10 communities that have gotten a hold of our well technician, Peter Willie, and they are requesting help with a new well in their village. And he has an ongoing list of communities that still need well repairs to be done. So that, going back to our Cool Clean Water song that our story started with, clean water. And that's still part of what we're doing today. An exciting note on that is that I had a really great meeting with the Eau Claire Rotary Club, and they are very interested in our clean water project. And they we're taking steps forward to see if they will give us a match, similar to like the match we used to have in the past, that will help us get that program going again. And the last one on here is one of the newest programs and the thing that we're most excited about, and that's our village transformation. And we've already talked a lot about what that means. It looks different in different places. Rosalind, besides teaching the microfinancing to women, she also just recently started a Bible study group with young women. It's called Inspire, Girls of, I'm going to forget what it is. Purpose and intention, I think, or focus. Anyway, I'm sorry, I forgot it. I'm the one who helped come up with it, and I forgot it. But can you go to the slide about vulnerable girls? Perfect. One of the big needs that we have seen in Liberia recently, one of the needs that I've only just become more aware of, is the challenges that vulnerable girls face in Liberia. I'm going to try really hard to talk without getting too emotional. The girls on the left are Comfort and Sarah, and they have been orphans for a very long time, since they were very small. And they lived kind of with their aunt and sort of back and forth. But about a year ago, Comfort messaged me and said, we are really vulnerable. We are living alone in a house, and there is nobody around us that is protecting us. And so I talked with Rosalind and I said, can we please find a place for these girls where they'll be safe? And so she found an older woman who has a 3-bedroom house, and she rented out one of the rooms in that house for about $15 a month. And when Comfort got a hold of me, she said, Sis Peggy, thank you so much for the room. This house even has a bathroom. And I wanted to cry. Because in the house that Comfort and Sarah lived in, they didn't have a private place to take a bath. The girl next to that is another girl that's been in our program for a long time. And due to some confusion, she ended up leaving our program, and I didn't know where she went. And so for a couple of years, I was kind of like, where did she go? And I was doing a well assessment in a community that she used to live in when she was a little girl. And I asked the principal of the school there, I said, do you know where Lomini is? Have you seen her? He's like, I haven't. After I went home, he called me and he said, I found Lomini. And he said, how is she? And he said, she's not doing well. And he said, can we send someone to the village and see if we can make arrangements to bring her back to town so we can put her back in school again? And he said, oh yes, I'm sure, Sis Peggy, that her family will be happy with that. So it took a little while, and I sent Morris and Samuel to go to the village and see how she was. And Morris and Samuel brought back the report that Lomini had a baby. I said, how can that be? Because the last time I saw Lomini, she hadn't even gone through puberty yet. Lomini was a really shy and private girl. And so some of my friends in teamwork, I was like, well, she's just rebellious now and she just has a boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's not Lomini. And so I asked them to go back and find out what happened to Lomini. And she was in a village where she was not protected. And she was abused in that village. And she now has a, 4 or 5 month old little baby. And I should have put in the video of the baby. So when I knew that Rosalind agreed to take Lomini and the baby to live with her. And so when I went to Liberia last time, and so once the two of them got to her house, she was doing a video chat with me. And I knew they were going to ask me to name the baby, because that's what you do in Liberia. And I was really overwhelmed with emotions. And God, how could you let this happen? And how come I didn't find her sooner? And all kinds of anger and sadness and grief. And I couldn't think of a name that would fit all of those things. And so Rosalind has me on video chat. She says, Sis Peggy, what are we going to name the baby? And I said, Mercy. We're going to name her Mercy. And Rosalind just looked at me and nodded her head. She's like, that's of course the name for this little baby. And when I got to Liberia and got to hold Mercy, her eyes were bright, and she was giggling, and it was, one of my friends said, is that what it feels like to be a grandma? And I said, I don't know, but it feels really good. So, go to the next slide about Teamwork Africa Germany. So this fits in with this really well, because Teamwork Africa has actually grown since we got together last time. We have a friend who is in Germany, and he has filed with the German government to have a Teamwork Africa Germany. And when I was in Liberia about a year ago, we were actually delivering rice, and we were on our way somewhere else, and AB said, oh, Sis Peggy, do you think that we could bring a bag of rice to my neighbors? Because they have a girl who's really sick, and I think that they could really use some help. And I said, yeah, let's go back to your house, AB, and find this family. And so I met this little girl named Kabe. And Kabe was, to start with, her father, when her mother was pregnant, her father did not want another child and asked her to terminate that pregnancy, and her mother wouldn't. And so the father abandoned the family altogether. When Kabe was about 4 years old, I think, she got she had an injury to her leg, and she had a severe bone infection. So for the last 6 years, that bone infection had swollen up her leg just enormous, so she could barely walk. And I didn't want to show you that picture, so I didn't bring that one. But she had the sweetest disposition, and she's one of those girls where I looked at her, I'm like, there's something really special about this little girl. And it was kind of funny. I try not to say things that, try to make promises you can't keep. But I said, we're going to take her to the clinic, and we're going to find out what's wrong with her. And so we made a plan to take her to the clinic the next day. And AB was just like, they've done everything that they could. There's nothing that they can do. We know that this girl is going to just die someday. And they said, AB, God did not bring this little girl into my life for her to die. And that was a very bold thing to say, because we've had several losses, many losses. As I looked through pictures for tonight, I saw a lot of pictures of kids whose pictures aren't on the tables tonight because they didn't make it. And I made that bold statement about Kevin. Well, God does have a plan for Kevin, and my friend Stefan, who's our German counterpart, is an orthopedic doctor. Hope I'm getting that right, Stefan. And God just opened a path through the sea for Kevin to go to Germany to have surgery on her leg, to get her bones corrected. Kevin can walk with a healing. She still has more surgeries to go, and Stefan and his wife have actually adopted Kevin, and so that she can continue to get the care that she needs. Stefan is in Germany. No, Stefan is not in Germany right now. Stefan is in Liberia right now with our Teamwork Africa team, and he is, oh yes, that's why I wanted to tell the story. So this week, so today is Thursday, earlier this week, Stefan was meeting with a lady who does a feeding program in Liberia. Every Saturday she feeds about 100 kids. And there's one kid who had some kind of medical issue, and so Stefan had brought medicine for that child. So they're on their way to go see this child, and en route, the woman that he was with comes across a 9-year-old little girl whose hand has been severely crushed. And this little girl is from the village, and family decided they needed some help in their house, and so they went and got this little girl from the village and brought her into their home to be basically a slave. And most of the time, families will say, oh, we're going to send her to school, we're going to do something good for her job. She didn't go to school. And the woman of the house was angry with her and took something, a plank or something, and crushed her hand, and then sent her to the marketplace to go shop. And the girl was, I don't know, as I'm remembering the story from her, I don't know if she was sobbing or what. Anyway, this woman found her, took her to the, get care of her, took her to the police department, went to the Department of Gender, and we took custody of the girl. And then the woman, who this happens in Liberia more than any of us want to know, said, where's she going to go? She, who's going to take care of her now? And so Stefan made his contacts in Germany, found someone who'd be willing to sponsor her, and Rosalind, once again, said, she can come and stay with me. So we have been recently, again, there's so much that I would love to tell you, and time is slipping away from us. Very long story, very big God. We have purchased 5 acres of land in an area that looks just like New Life Community looked like 10 years ago. Nothing there but grass and trees. And the village there has decided to sell 500 acres of land, and it's selling really fast, and a brand new community is going to be developing there, and we're going to be there. And one of the things that we really want to put on that property is a safe house for girls. We want to put it there for girls like Lomini, for girls like Comfort and Sarah, for this little 9-year-old girl that I just heard about this week, for girls that need to go to bed at night and know that they're okay, know that they're going to have food to eat in the morning, and it's not going to be dependent on what they do during the day. And we need to be able to tell these girls that Jesus loves them, and God has a plan for their lives. And so it's really interesting because that's been on my heart for the last couple months, ever since Lomini's story. And this week when I was checking in with Stefan, he said, I was talking to the staff today in Liberia, and I told them I want to build a safe house, but I'm not sure they understand what that means. And he's like, I think everyone I talk to says I'm crazy. And I said, Stefan, you're not crazy. I said, that's the Holy Spirit talking to you. Because that's exactly the next step that we need, is to put a safe place for girls in Liberia. So I would love to answer a bazillion questions of things that you want to do. If you are interested in sponsoring a Starfish Kid, there are some forms in the back. Our sponsorship is $150 for the year. If you want to donate $25 a month, that would send 2 kids to school for the year. some of you are really on the ball and you've already filled out your envelope. So if you would like to grab that, I can go through it with you. This is our partnership envelope for this year. There's a section on here for if you want to give tonight, but I really want you to look at the middle section about becoming a monthly sponsor. I put the instructions there on how to do that. So if you have your phone or if you want to look at it later, you can go to the Teamwork Africa donate page and I have the instructions there on how to set up a monthly partnership. One of the benefits of a monthly partnership versus a one-time gift is it really helps even out our monthly budget so that we can, sometimes like right now, we get a nice big, generous donation from an event like this and then, COVID hits and then we don't have another one for a year and a half. So that's really helpful. And then there's a section there for your name and address. If you already are in our system, you don't necessarily have to give us the address part of it, but if you've moved and you want to update your information, that'd be a really great time to do that. Could you go to the Spotify list and play My Story? The song from Big Daddy Weave was inspired this event tonight, and I really wanted it to honor God. So while you listen to this song, just prayerfully consider what you'd like to give to Teamwork Africa.
If I told you my story, you would hear hope and wouldn't let go. And if I told you my story, you would hear love that never gave up. And if I told you my story, you would hear life
make sure I don't forget to do. I'm not good at saying thank you, and part of the reason is because I really hate it if you like forget somebody. But I really am grateful, and there's some people that I really, really couldn't do. Teamwork Africa couldn't make it without you. So I really want to appreciate Mary Jo Sorensen for helping me with bookkeeping. And I really want to appreciate my prayer team. I'm going to read your names because I depend on you guys. So my prayer team is Andrea Polnazik, Camille Lalonde, Chrissy Nelson, Diane Bryant, Jane Jeffries, Janelle Solberg, Jean Leckler, Jolene Helberg, Lynn Hauser, Mary Jo Sorensen, Randy Johnson, and Renee Werzer. I started that prayer team before we moved to Liberia. And every time I have faced a challenge or a heartbreak, I posted on that in that group. So the group of women who I trust with my deepest secrets and just the hard stuff I'm going through, and they have been there through everything that I've gone through. I want to thank WJIB Radio for playing lots of ads for the event tonight. I want to thank Peace Church. They have been tremendously helpful in hosting our event here tonight. I want to thank Fellowship Church for giving our family a safe place to land when we came back home. I want to thank big, huge thanks to Dawn Craig for cooking for us tonight and all the work she put in. She also had help from Lynn and Kathy and Grace and Elena and a couple other people in the kitchen whose names I didn't get. I also want to thank Dan Regal, who rescued the event, in my opinion, because we had a little miscommunication about who was going to run tech. And he's like, okay, I can do it. So thank you so much for your help. I also want to thank Rich Wall for doing our video tonight. So our event was on Facebook Live, and those people who weren't able to make it here tonight could see it online, and then they can also view it at another time. So I really appreciate his effort in doing that. I need help. So if you or someone you know would prayerfully consider contacting me, and you could even write it on your envelope if you want to. I need help designing our website. We have a website right now that I cannot easily edit, and it's probably because I do not have very good skills in that area. So I need help with that. I need help with communication. If you've been wondering what Teamwork Africa's been doing lately, we've been doing a lot, but I have not been very good at communicating that. So Facebook updates and newsletters and phone calls and that kind of stuff. I was talking to some friends here. I need a Starfish Kids communicator. When you sponsor a kid, it's in my heart that I really want you to have a relationship with that kid. And because of technology, it's not hard to do. If you give me a letter for that child, I can give it to Rosalind through Facebook. Your child can write a letter back, and it can get to you, and it doesn't cost anything except time. And I need somebody who has a heart to help me with that. I wrote it on there twice. I also need help with fundraising. As Mark said from the beginning, this is not the area that I feel very good at, or I certainly feel passionate about it, but I would love to talk about better ways that we can communicate with individuals, churches, businesses that would really benefit from wanting to do the work that we're doing. And I also would like help doing videos. One of the problems when I go to Liberia now is it's just really too familiar. And so nothing seems interesting to me because I've been there a lot of times. And I'd really love fresh eyes for someone to say, hey, get a video of somebody doing this, or have somebody tell you a story about that. And so if your area is video, those are all areas that I could really use help in. And you have an announcement too. Oh, yeah, right.
That's it. Okay. All right, thank you so much. The word is from Dawn that we do have leftover food. So there is fruit and bags of fruit and pound cake in the hall and the table, so help yourself. If you do want there, she'd be glad to fix up a bag of jala rice for you. Just go over to the kitchen over here. Okay? So, and I know Peggy meant at the end, she's very grateful for her husband and her family too. So I just knew that. She was going to pray, so.
I was going to do that first, but will you just pray with me? God, this was not the story that I wanted in my life. This wasn't the picture of how I thought my life would unfold. And God, I want to thank you tonight for being a good God and for taking my hand and the hand of my husband and our whole family and everyone who's been part of Teamwork Africa and saying, trust me, follow me, one step of the way. I want to do something through you. I want to love people in Liberia through you. I used to say, God, I don't know what to do. I'm missing that. God, tonight we want to honor you and celebrate you for what you've done, for the story that you're telling in all of our lives. For the way that you moved heaven and earth to come find us. God, we want to look like you in the world that we're in. Thank you for the way that you have been moving through Teamwork Africa, for the journey that you have us on, and for the story that you're telling. Thank you for the story that you're telling in the lives of each one of us. Thank you for the gift of Jesus. God, help us to look more like him every day. God, thank you so much for the people that are here tonight. I pray that you would bless them, that you keep them safe on their journeys home, that you be speaking to their hearts about what it is that you have in their lives and the story that they're telling. In Jesus' name. Amen. Yeah, the envelopes, you can just leave the envelopes on the table and we'll have our helpers come around and pick them up. Yep. Thank you so much for coming, and don't forget to go to containers on your way out.